Hey everybody, hope you're doing well today. Today we're going to be looking at some more LEGO Star Wars set concepts. This is part 2 of the series, and I hope we can get on to do some more. For those of you who are new to the series, I'd suggest you go back and look at my first part, and after this look at future parts that I might be putting out. But the way that we run this is that I'll show you a set concept by showing you a build, comments on that, as well as what minifigures I think would accompany the build best to account for, its movie portrayal. For my minifigures included, I tend to be relatively minimal. I don't include a ton of minifigures, whereas you guys might want me to include 40 minifigures for a set. Realistically, it might only have 4. So just keep that in mind when you're watching and know that, the real LEGO one might have as many, fewer, or less than what I'm saying if it does come out. So without further ado, let's get into our first set, the UTAT. For those of you who don't know, the UTAT first shows up in Episode 3 during the Order 66 scene with the assassination of Ki-Adi-Mundi by the Galactic Marines led by Commander Bakara. UTAT stands for Unstable Terrain Artillery Transport, which is a mouthful, so I'm just going to be saying UTAT for this. The UTAT we see pictured here would be one very similar to what I think LEGO would put out. It's fairly straightforward and pretty replicable, and more importantly puts an emphasis on interior space and accuracy, which is something that, in this past wave we haven't necessarily got a lot of. Knowing LEGO and their hesitation to make named clones, the only minifigure I expect to see in the set, if it is based off of the Episode 3 scene, would be Ki-Adi-Mundi. After all, he is the Jedi that is killed in this scene, and he would go well with it for movie accuracy. Now we can really venture into Fantasyland and hope that they include a Bakara and even some Galactic Marines, as these are really in-demand figures. A lot of these figures would be massively appreciated by fans of LEGO and LEGO Star Wars, and honestly I'd say they're probably among the most requested figures, other than some more Phase 2 First Troopers and Phase 2 Cody being probably the most requested figure among LEGO Star Wars. For numbers, I would think obviously if we got a Bakara we'd only get one of him, and then maybe 2 Galactic Marines if we're lucky. I wouldn't say that though. I would really expect one Galactic Marine and 1 Commander Bakara with the Ki-Adi-Mundi minifigure, and maybe on top of that we get a Super Battle Droid or something like that. So something I'm going to include in these videos going forward is to give a kind of general set price I'd expect. For this set, I honestly could see them pricing around $80 just given that these figures would be really in demand, and that build that you saw previously was a pretty large build, and I think that's a fair price. The next set I think will come as a surprise to you because it's not necessarily a really demanded set, but I think it's a set that we could all benefit for as LEGO Star Wars and Star Wars fans. It's Dex's Diner. A very much forgotten about or a very iconic part of Episode 2, depending on who you are and honestly probably how you stand on the episode. This is the part where Obi-Wan has the dart that Jango Fett shot into Zam Wesell, and he's trying to figure out from at least anybody who he could possibly attribute the dart to. This image I have, this kind of mock of the Dex's Diner, I don't think would be a great LEGO set. I think a diner would inherently have to be a type of play set, especially given the minifigures I'm going to outline as being included. One I'd hope to see would be more kind of an open-up build, something that you could really just mess around with inside. It wouldn't be a display set. I don't foresee that really happening for LEGO Star Wars. So for minifigures, guys, I think it's a for sure thing we would have a Dex. Dexter Jetzer is a beloved Star Wars character. I haven't seen any hate for him, really. He might be unknown to more casual fans, but he is pretty dang awesome. And I think this LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga version of him would be a great baseline for what we'd want to see. It's not difficult to make a figure of his species. We see that with the Pon Krell minifigure. So some kind of mix of that Lego Star Wars TCS version of him and the Pon Krell would create an amazing Dexter Jetster. So the next minifigure is even more obscure than Dexter himself. It's Flo, the kind of waitress droid that we see in the movie. I think she'd be a pretty easy addition to this set, as you can see by this kind of mock version of her. That looks pretty accurate, and I think it's pretty funny. It's a great addition to the set, and it adds even more kind of intricacy to an amazing set idea. Lastly, I'd like to see an Obi-Wan Kenobi like this one from episode 2. We wouldn't have the Dexter Jetzer's Diner if not for this storyline that centers around Obi-Wan in episode 2. So I think it's essential that we have our Obi-Wan minifigure. A price on Dexter's Diner I think would be something around $40, $50. I don't think it needs to be too much, but I don't think it can be too little. That sounds fair to me. So this last of the three for this video is the Republic dropship with an ATTE. This is kind of the complement to the first video's standalone ATOT, and I think this is a lot of what people really have wanted to see from the start from LEGO Star Wars with that dropship. They never really wanted an ATOT because we don't really see that in the movies. We see the dropship with the ATTE. That would be fantastic and an amazing way to introduce the ATTE and the dropship into a market that's begging for both. I think, just like in this image, a set featuring the original dropship's design, maybe a slight update of it, and just the ATTE's design from, let's say, 2013 would do phenomenally. I think the sheer size of the set allows a lot to be done in terms of the minifigures involved. Starting with an updated clone pilot, I've never really liked the clone pilots they've done, even the ones that are movie accurate to episode 3, like the ones that go in the Ark. I think it really just needs a real, on top of the game Clone Wars style pilot, as well as maybe a second of them, fill up both seats of the dropship. So when I'm thinking about who's going to go on the ATTE, I'm thinking, why not do the 212th? And since we have a dropship, let's include the airborne, because why not? It's not a movie accurate thing, but who said it didn't happen? The 212th is a great one to use because it's just such a commonplace one, and it's not really such an emphasis on the 501st as we see in other LEGO Star Wars sets, especially the newer ones. So that would be a breath of fresh air. For the number of them, I really don't foresee them exceeding 3 or 4. For the original one, I don't think they had that many. They had a good amount of clone troopers, don't get me wrong, but they didn't have a ton, and they didn't have insignia'd clone troopers, so I think that's going to be a limitation. The last figure I'd like to see in this set would be a Phase 2 Commander Cody, just like anybody else would like to see in literally any set. Honestly, I think if they put out a Death Star with a Phase 2 Cody, people wouldn't really say much because he's such an in-demand figure. Including a Cody here would make sense given that you're going to include his battalion, the 212th, so why not just have this very in-demand figure come with what's going to end up being a very strangely expensive set that's not going to be UCS. And that gets me to my last part, which is the pricing for this. That's something that came up to me kind of around the filming of this. This is not possibly going to be a cheap set. I believe that the original one in 2009 was $250. I have it myself. So, adjusting for inflation and also kind of these minifigures, I would say that this could end up being a $300, $350 set, and it wouldn't even be a UCS set. So that's kind of the one barrier to making this set and remaking this set. It's just that absolute cost is going to be very high for a non-UCS set. Alright guys, so that's it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed, and please let me know what your set concept ideas are. Maybe I'll feature them in a future video. This transition from TikTok is not being very difficult thus far, but I haven't had that many expectations. With that being said, please like if you liked it. If you didn't like it, please tell me why below. Subscribe, and make sure that you have a good day and stay safe. Bye.